What is up, all you GBA type fans? This is Tom. I'm here to bring you guys my Week 11 match against NecroStevo and the Utah Jasmine. Now, if you have any questions about the team that I brought, why I brought them, please check out my team builder I uploaded yesterday. So looking at his team, we see that he brings Reuniclus, Zapdos, Hippowdon, and Lantern. Suspected core I thought he'd bring Cloyster and Scrafty. This means that I'm not seeing Manaphy, so that means Vaporeon's primary role is going to be to stop Reuniclus as well as Cloyster. I don't see Breloom, so that means Scrafty may be a problem based on the set, but I know Celesteela is still potentially bulky to take those hits. Like I said, I see the Hippowdon and the Lantern core, so I kind of got to deal with that appropriately. Good thing I have Darmanitan and even Thundurus. Then we see Zapdos, no Golbat. So that means just he has one flyer, otherwise everything else is grounded. So once I get rid of Zapdos, I can go for Earthquake with the Darmanitan or even Earth Power from Nidoqueen. Finally, we don't see keys, so I don't have a free setup of T-Spikes or Rocks with Nidoqueen. That's not going to be a huge problem. I can still get them up against things like potentially Zapdos on a predicted electric move. I can get them up on Lantern if I find out it's, AV or very Spadef, doesn't do that much damage. Or I can get up against a Scrafty on like a switch in or something along those lines. But everything else kind of threatens it out. Not necessarily going to want to get them up without getting some information about the sets first. Overall, my team's going to consist of Scarf Thundurus, obviously the special defensive / defensive Leech Seeding Celesteela, a primarily Spadef Nidoqueen with T-Spikes Rocks, that. And then mixed defensive, Roar, Wish Protect, and Scald Vaporeon, Banded Darm, and AV Lee. This, I'm very pleased at what I'm looking at. I know that Stevo's been struggling to use Manaphy. I'm okay with that. Seeing the Reuniclus just kind of confirms it's going to be some sort of CM set. Seeing no Breloom, well, I'm just going to make the safety goggles useless. It does mean that Celesteela is not going to be effective this match. And just overall, I am very, very excited to not see Swellow, because that just means that Scarf Thundurus doesn't really have to compete with anything in terms of speed tiers. So with that in mind, we're going to hop into the match. I am going to probably apologize for the first third of this match. You'll see why when we get into it. But it is going to be well, I guess I'll explain it as we go through that certain section. This match, for anyone who doesn't know before we get into the match, this match is going to determine if I win, if I make it into the, if I have a chance for the playoffs against Chase next week, assuming he had lost to Geo. We see that NecroStevo is going to lead off with Reuniclus. I am going to lead off with Thundurus. Now, all week, I was thinking to myself, okay, if I see Klefki on the roster, I'm going to lead with Nidoqueen because I assume he can get up spikes, but I can get up T-Spikes first. He's going to have a very limited way of getting rid of them. I don't see either, but in case he led with Cloyster or even something like a Hippowdon, I don't want to lead with Darm or my Nidoqueen and then get like anti-leaded and have to take big damage. We see Elliot with Thundurus, go for U-turn, does a lot of damage. That showed me right off the bat. He is not defensive, not primarily defensive, I should say. We don't see leftovers, so unlike last time, he's not a leftovers recover, that type of set. But then we also see on the switch in this. Obviously Vaporeon is very, very, very special defensive. But I take 40 to 47%, so immediately he's Magic Guard, Life Orb, either Quiet or Modest. So that shows me a lot just on these first few turns. This is going to allow me to Wish, possibly Protect. It's going to let me see a little bit more about his set. Obviously, if he's Psychic and Recover, I'd assume... actually, I protected there specifically because I wanted to see if he had Thunder. Because obviously, if you guys had watched my team builder, you thought, or you heard at least, that I suspected that he would carry Thunder because it would do the most amount of damage to a Vaporeon. And if Psychic's doing upwards of about 40%, then I assume possibly a Thunder could do like 60, maybe even just as much. Granted, you have to hit it, but it would also allow him to hit Celesteela pretty hard. And then I figure his last coverage move, to ensure that he doesn't get trapped in or doesn't get completely hard stopped, would maybe be something like Shadow Ball to hit the Gardevoir in case that I brought that as a check to the Reuniclus. I don't know. I'm gonna go for the Roar. I'm gonna just phase right out. I know I have nothing. I have no hazards up or anything, but I wanted to see what I could drag him into. Unfortunately, I get Lantern, but I wanna protect, get some leftovers up. I'm going to pull what Gio's been doing with Umbreon against me and a few other people. But I'm going to protect, get back some leftovers, see what he's going to go for. Now, right there, he goes for the Ice Beam, and it shows me that he is primarily going to try and predict the Nidoqueen to come in. Not necessarily going to go for electric moves, you know, attack what's in front of him, because I think so far he's been kind of doing that just outright. He does Toxic. Now, that shows me he's not AV. So this means that this thing is either, I don't know, some sort of Spadef leftover set. Obviously, he did take 8 damage, so I can't see to confirm if he has leftovers. But the Toxic shows me he's certainly not AV. I'm going to go for a Wish. I'm going to put it up in the air. And instead of taking the recovery myself in case he goes for Thunderbolt, I'm just going to pass it out to Nidoqueen, see what kind of set he is. He goes for Ice Beam. Good chunk of damage to a fully special defensive Nidoqueen. This confirms that he is a modest, some sort of item, again, Lantern. He does miss the Hydro Pump. Looking at the calcs, what did upwards of 67 to 72% or so. Obviously, he missed. That did suck. However, one thing I will say is that regardless if Nidoqueen took that damage, all I needed that to do is just get up T-Spikes and ensure that I can whittle down his team gradually later on. The damage would have sucked on Nidoqueen solely because I would have been down in like probably about a third or so HP after the Black Sludge recovery. I could have still passed Wishes into it, but even if that thing just took 1 HP Ice from the Zapdos or just switched on a Volt Switch one time, that's all I needed to do after I got the T-Spikes up. I see his T-Bolt. Now I see his entire set. T-Bolt, Ice Beam, Hydro Pump, and Toxic. This means that he's entirely offensive. Probably max HP and max special attack with an item of some nature. And with the Toxic, it just allows him to will down this Vaporeon. I am going to go for Wish and Protect again. This standard, annoyingness. But this allows me just to get back up to about 3/4 HP. And just to ensure that I can come in next time, and if I need to take on Cloyster, or Reuniclus, or even this Lantern, I can do that. I can't touch this, and we see he's doing a lot of damage, and just kind of whittling me down gradually. So right here, I'm not staying in. I'm not going to Nidoqueen, though, because that's stupid. But I am going to go into my Hitmonlee. This is obviously AV, pretty much max HP. So we're going to see this Ice Beam. I was running my calcs. I got all the information I needed on Reuniclus and this Lantern, so I could see here that did nothing. So this is why I brought AV on Hitmonlee this week. Does a great job, and it chewed that hit. You see that he's Pressure Zapdos, so this thing probably has Defog. I didn't want to go for a High Jump Kick or something like an Earthquake there. I think the Zapdos switch was really, really obvious. I go for Knockoff, get rid of his leftovers, and then I'm going to go for Stone Edge. So close to killing it. But we also see that he's defensive with absolutely no speed. So I outpace him. I think the play there we should have went for a Roost just to kind of scout the damage, especially if he was a max defense or a heavily defensive invested Zapdos. Instead he goes for HP Ice, predicting my Nidoqueen to come in, probably trying to snag that KO to ensure that then Lantern can go for T-Bolt uninhibited, or at least, Ice Beam, whatever, uninhibited. But instead, I just shoot that hit, and I knock it out with another knockoff. He's going to go into Reuniclus. I'm going to go into Celesteela. This thing's going to start chewing these hits from Psychics and from this Reuniclus. My best switch in, I don't really want Vaporeon to keep getting whittled down with the Toxic and then just continue taking damage 40% from this Reuniclus. I go for Heavy Slam, do about 40 to 47%, and then he misses a Focus Blast. Kind of the cost you take with Focus Blast, but however, it does suck that he has missed now 2 moves. He missed Hydro, which is a 20% miss chance, and then Focus Blast, which is a 25% miss chance. Granted, that Focus Blast would have maybe done about 25 to 30%, and he still would have been pressured to recover and not necessarily do a lot of damage back to me, because obviously we see his Magikarp, and my Heavy Slams are putting him right about where he has to basically recover. He's going to switch into Powdon. I'm going to pause right here just for a second. In my mind, when I was seeing how much the Heavy Slam was going to do, one of 2 things was going through my head. Now, obviously, I think Steve-O here is kind of playing on the back foot. The Hydro missed on Nidoqueen. He would have just did big damage to that and roughly could have knocked it out, obviously, if I had switched it in on that HP Ice from the Zapdos. The Focus Blast miss against the Celesteela, well, it would have put me down to about half and maybe force me to pass a Wish into it later. You're going to see right here, that's not going to matter. And here's why. as I'm going for heavy slams, I think to myself, well, he can switch. I can also crit, which would knock out Reuniclus outright. But if he does switch, or even if he just stays in and keeps he just keeps recovering, with how, you know, substantial Reuniclus's, you know, defenses or even its HP is, I can get that HP back and gradually get back my HP. So I think to myself, I'm just going to go for Giga Drain right here. It's not, maybe it's going to do 25, I believe, to 30%. That's a good 15%, you know, recovery. It would put me upwards of about 60% HP. But instead, we see here he brings in Hippowdon. And you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. Gonna go click Giga Drain. He's gonna get some T-Spikes up. Or T-Spikes Poison, I should say. We see his Sandstream, not Sandforce this week. So this might be a little bit of an inhibitor for his other Pokemon. But I'm gonna take back all those delicious souls, consume them, and, you know, harvest that energy, get back to full HP, as he has now taken 50% on the first, well, about 51%, or 49%, sorry, on the first switch in. And my speed was correct, so being that Sassy Nature, I still outspeed it, and I put him down at about 25% in 2 turns. So all he can really do is get up Stealth Rock. Since I am faster, just like the case with Hitmonlee versus Zapdos, I get off that big damage on just a very, I guess, easy prediction, and allow myself to be in a better position offensively, which is pretty much what I wanted out of Hitmonlee and Celesteela. Really whittle down, if not knock out, his passive walls entirely, because we do see that Reuniclus, Lantern, and Hippowdon are all super slow. I go for Giga Drain. I don't necessarily why he didn't just sack off Hippowdon there, because he could have went into Reuniclus and then recovered off, you know, and taken that next heavy slam. But that gives me a Beast Boost, which I haven't gotten all season, because Celesteela hasn't gotten a kill. It allows me to knock out Reuniclus, one of, in my opinion, the biggest threats against my team. That Beast Boost allows me now to live this T-Bolt very, 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 very comfortably. Look at that not damage. I'm going for Leech Seed here. Really glad it didn't miss. Granted, it wouldn't really have mattered. Going to basically force him now. If the Sandstorm was still there, that's 6%. Leech Seed, 12%. And the Toxic Spikes, 12%. He now has just taken 24% in a turn. This Lantern is not going to be staying in long, I can tell you that. There you go. I am now here going to go for Giga Drain. I know I could probably get up back about 30-ish% HP, but this Celesteela set is proving to be a gigantic thorn in his side. He's forced to go into Scrafty here, forced to let it take damage and the T-Spikes, and I don't see Intimidate. But then I also thought, well, maybe he's Moxie. Instead, we see the Shed Skin. We see that he just sheds off that Toxic. So here I suspect, well, is he going to be some sort of setup, try and bulk up on me? No, he goes for Sub. I'm going to go for Air Slash. Maybe he thought I only had Giga Drain and Heavy Slam. Maybe he did his calcs and saw that they did less than 25%. Or there was a roll in his favor. But instead I have Air Slash. That was purposely for this, as well as Breloom. Goes for High Jump Kick. It does... You see why I thought that, you know, a High Jump Kick Scrafty would be a problem. Nothing on my team wants to take that. And even Celesteela, that took a good solid 50% on that High Jump Kick. I am going to knock it out with Air Slash. That's Celesteela's second kill this game, as compared to 0 kills the entire season. So I'm going to Cloyster. I'm running my calcs, looking if he has Icicle Crash, I have a chance to live. If he has Icicle Spear, I was at about 32%. Icicle Spear at a minimum is 36%. Granted, you'd have had to hit. If he did miss this, then that would have really sucked, because Giga Drain would have outright did upwards of like 83% max to a Cloyster. But that's not a problem, because this is what Scarf Thundurus was for. I see here that if he is Scarfed, even if he stays in, I can go for Grass Knot. And you look at what he has left, right? Zapdos is gone, Reuniclus is gone, Scrafty is gone, so he has Cloyster, Hippowdon, and Lantern left. If I go for Grass Knot, I would knock out Hippowdon because it's like 8 HP left anyway. If I go for Grass Knot on Lantern, it's better than go for T-Bolt, because maybe if he has a Wakan Berry and he knows he's invested to live, if he's a Rind, I don't think he's a Rindo Berry. I think it's more likely that he is a Wakan Berry, and he can then, of course, knock me out then with an Icicle Spear, which would put him in a great position. But I figured the Grass Knot here is a great middle ground position, middle ground play, I should say, and it would allow me to then knock this out, see if he is Scarf, I still outpace him, and it doesn't matter. And even if he decided to switch, I still get good damage. I kill Hippowdon, get a good 36% on the Lantern. Actually, even more because he's not AV. Or I can do all the damage against this Cloyster. So that's exactly what I'm going to click. I'm not going to click T-Bolt in case he did go into Lantern. I do take the Rocks damage, and the one thing about the Rocks now being up is that I wanted to get rid of Cloyster regardless. And I say that because if he was like a Scarfed Ice Shard Cloyster, it does 46 to 53, so it would have been a roll that I would have to deal with on the next time coming in. Quiver Grass Knot, I knock it out. So this is really going in my favor. I am going to go into Hitmonlee. I know this is my best switch in for this sort of Lantern. He could have went for Hydro there. I think he probably should have gone for Hydro there, but in case I went into Vaporeon over Hitmonlee, it would have given back more HP to Vaporeon. He's going to go for Ice Beam right here. I'm going to do what Hitmonlee does best, and it's going to show off those big, stupid legs that Hitmonlee has. And I'm just going to go for High Jump Kick. Kind of summon a little bit of Dan's Luck there on hitting moves. And we see that he's Rocky Helmet, probably fully max defensive. Going to knock it out in case, you know, he's not going for knockoff too. He's going to go back in the Lantern. And as you guys know, Hitmonlee is faster than Lantern. Just any day of the week. All I got to do is hit this final High Jump Kick. And baby, we just locked up a 5-0 win. And my potential keys to the kingdom in terms of the playoffs. Now it all comes down to Chase versus Geo. If Geo's beaten Chase, and now I did my part and I beat Stevo, this means now that next week it could be the finale, the Week 12 finale, Chase versus Tom for the playoffs. All the marbles coming down to this match. In addition to me beating Stevo, I have now mathematically eliminated him from playoffs, and I say that because he currently has 6 losses. He's at about a -14 or -15 differential. Even if he wins 6-0 against Geo, and I beat Crimson 1-0, you know, because I beat him 5-0 here, I have now mathematically eliminated him from catching me and beating me in terms of the playoff race. I also have to keep an eye on how Callum finishes, and yeah, that's pretty much it. There is a chance that the San Jose Sharpedos can pull this back. We have gone through a gauntlet, I would say, this season. Unfortunately, went against probably some of the top-tier players, and there's still hope. And not once did you ever think that I would quit, that I would ever stop trying, that I would be the type that would go, nah, I'm just going to have fun this season. No. No. I ain't no quitting bitch. And I will compete. And this is why you compete. Every single week. Regardless of how bleak the situation is, you play this fucking game and you win. Sorry. Next week, it's going to be me and Chase. Depending on Geo and Chase's, outcome, it's for all the marbles. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited that that's going to be a match to play something. Because you know how it is. Usually every single season, the final match comes down to, oh, well, this doesn't matter. I'm just going to play and have a meme match or whatever. No, this is going to be a serious match between two very good players. I do hold Chase in very high regard, especially this season, getting all those 6-0 and 5-0 sweeps, and showing how good Crocodile and Cobalion are. And I hope this match is going to be a fun one. I hope you guys are excited too. I am happy I won that, and I think I may have won that with the highest differential in terms of a win-loss out of all the coaches, which is also something I've wanted to do kind of passively. I've wanted to be that coach of the week for the fantasy segment, which I know no one picks me for, but who the fuck cares? Oh boy. Okay. Well, with that in mind, guys, I will talk to you next week, and let's see if the San Jose Sharpedos can go back to the playoffs since Season 2. Wow. Been a long time. I'm excited. I know you're excited. Let's go. It's actually crunch time. And I'm not a dumpster fire. Who knew? I'll see you guys next week. Later.